Good. So let's focus on this question first, right? There are two parts here, or I would say many parts. Okay. So this question, let me just check. Is by who? It's by BK, right? So this one is actually taken from the Telegram. Okay, well, still see some questions coming in from Telegram. Because the session has started, right? I may not be able to monitor so many channel. So what you want to do is don't drop your questions in the Telegram discussion already. Just drop it in the YouTube chat so that I can keep track of it, or else I might miss out on your questions. Okay, so these are the one that I've so far taken out from Telegram. Okay, so this one here, how to trade during news events, or should we completely avoid news events? This is actually asked by BK, but I think it's probably going to be relevant for many traders, right? Okay, and the other parts of it is, should we stick to market structure during news event, or do we do fundamental analysis? What points do we keep in mind while trading news events, right? So basically the topic here is about news, right? The first part. Okay, and then the second one here is how to control emotions during trading. Okay, so let me discuss and let us talk about the first part. Okay. Now before we go into any of quote unquote answers over here, I just want to put it very right at the front, right? I just want you to be able to understand that the questions and the answers that I give, okay, the answers that I give, is not like what we call model answer, okay. It's like in school, in math, 1 plus 1, the correct answer is 2, right? But in trading, there's no such thing as the correct answer, okay. Because there are just so many factors and elements that you need to take into account in your own trading process, okay. So the answers that I'm sharing with you is coming from my experience, coming from my perspective, and I want you to see it as another perspective, another insights of the market, okay. It's not like that's the only answer, okay. So to talk about this thing about news trading, right? Should you avoid it? If you want to trade it, how should you approach it? You just, first thing first, right? You need to understand that news itself creates volatility. Okay, so what is volatility? Is basically movement in the market, right? News seldom create a clear sense of direction, okay? Because when we are looking at news, the one thing we always want to catch is surprises, okay? The bigger the surprise, the bigger the move. If there's no surprise, the move is not going to be huge, okay? Case in point, okay? Just now we have the, let me open my Forex Factory, right? Just now we have the CPI data, okay? And it's an important news, okay? But there is no surprise because people has already been expecting it to be released at 6.0. It came out 6.0. Okay, so there's no surprise element. The market obviously would move, but it's not a lot. Okay, and this is what I mean by whenever we are looking at news, we want to see some form of a surprise to catch it. Now, last Friday NFP, we do have a surprise, right? If you take a look at this year, unemployment rate expected 3.4, it came out 3.6, so it's actually worse off. So what we did observe was that initial reaction where the dollar weakens, okay, and that is what we call volatility, and that's what we want to catch, okay. So news trading, okay, you need to, of course, to approach it, you need to first understand the principles behind, the framework behind, like why are we doing news trading, what do we want to catch, okay, what do we want to take away from the particular news. And to me, it's all about surprises, right? Because if things are already expected, if you already know it, then it's just like, oh, that's it, okay. But as I mentioned, if there's a surprise, it becomes like, oh, what's happening? Then traders will be panicking, traders will be taking new action, and then that moves the market, and that's what you want, okay. So whether you should be trading or should you be avoiding it, depends on a couple of factors, right? So the first and most important factor you should ask is, do you enjoy it? Okay, so as a person, as a trader, do you enjoy that kind of excitement, that short-term movement, in the market? And some people enjoy it, some people don't. Right? So that's where I say there's no right answer, right? There's no the correct answer, because if you enjoy news trading, then yes, okay, it might be something that you would gravitate towards. Then what you need to do, of course, is to create and craft a plan, a strategy to do it. If you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. Okay. Now from my personal point of view and my experience, interacting with many traders, is that if today you're very new to trading, okay, my advice and suggestion is don't jump into news trading yet. Okay, if you're very very new to trading, right? Because it's very easy for you to fall into the trap of getting overly excited, and you are not able to have the ability of controlling your emotions, controlling your decision, okay? Because you're still new in this process, and you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Right, so that's the reason why I would suggest, if you're very new to trading, don't jump into news trading yet. Right, but of course, if you're already more experienced, you know how to manage your emotions, you are disciplined in managing your risk, you have the discipline to follow your trade plan, then by all means, right, if it's something that you enjoy, do it. Right, so whether to avoid it, whether to trade it, these are some of the things you need to consider. Okay, it's not a one size fit all answer. Okay. Now, so suppose if you want to trade it, okay, and suppose you enjoy it, okay, what is the approach and strategy to do it? To me, there's only two types of general approaches, right? Just like I mentioned, news itself is very hard to actually determine the direction directly, okay, because when we are trading surprises, we will never know it's going to be surprise to the upside or surprise to the downside, and we never know the market is going to go up or it's going to go down. But one thing we know is when there's a surprise, there's a high possibility of a huge move, and we really don't care where is it going, because we just want to catch the move. Okay, so the approach and the strategy that you use for news trading is going to be slightly different from maybe your normal typical day to day, whether is it intraday trading or swing trade. Okay, the strategy is going to be slightly different. So if you are more into news trading, okay, what you want to do is you go and look into this thing called the straddle strategy. I think the spelling is double D, right? You're going to research a little bit into the straddle strategy. Now, what this strategy is, I'll briefly describe it so you have an idea of it. Is that you're gonna look into something of a shorter time frame, okay, such as 15 minute, okay, or sometimes it can be 30-minute, right? Really depending on market condition. And when I mean market condition, you want it to be in a range, a few hours before the news release. That's what you want to search for. Okay, so it can be 15, it can be 30-minute, but what you're looking out for is a couple of hours before the news release. The market forms a very nice range. Okay, I can give you one example over here. I'll take the euro dollar. Okay, we'll go back to just before NFP. So Friday is where NFP is. Okay, Tuesday, that's today. Where is it? Okay, here. I think that's the one. Yep. Okay, so this candle here you can see is 9:30. That's where NFP is released. So you can see a couple of hours before NFP, right? This candle is NFP. So before this candle, you can see a couple of hours is basically range, right? So that's what we want. Okay, so essentially the strategy of a straddle is you don't care the direction, but there's an important news, there's a chance of a surprise, there's a chance of great volatility, and you want to catch a move, right? So what you want to look out for is the range, as we have highlighted here. Okay, and just before the news, ideally you want to assess this range shouldn't be too big, right? So if you take a look at the low, it's about 1.0570, the high is about 1.060, so it's about good 30 pips. a good range, right? Not too big, not too small. And just before the news, the market is trading somewhere in the middle. Okay, which is great. Okay, so what you have is, if this is 30 pips, the top here we have 15, the bottom here we have 15. A very good range for a straddle. Okay, so the news release, and then what we saw is the market just goes up. That's a surprise element, right? And basically what you do is you put a buy stop, you put a sell stop, okay, above that range and below that range. And when the news release and there's a surprise element, the market just move very nicely, very fast in that short period of time because of the surprise, you're gonna catch this. Okay, you may not catch the entire move up, but what you do is, this is 15, you put about 20 pips, 15 to 20 pips of target, basically a 1:1, and then that's it. You get out, okay, and you're done with that trade, you're done with that news, right? So that's what we call straddle. You're basically capturing that short-term volatility burst, and that's about it. Okay, but of course, if you take a look at where we are today, for the CPI, nothing much, right? Because there's no surprise element. Okay, so not all news you can use this. You want to look at very important news, and you want to expect a surprise. If there's no surprise, then you probably won't get into any trade. You don't trade that after that. Okay, so news trading to me is very short term. Okay, and you're basically capturing that kind of volatility. Yeah. Okay, so that's news trading to me. Okay, so that's straddle strategy, right? So that's something you want to consider. Okay, if you want, you definitely can Google a little bit. You can find out more about this strategy, how to adopt it. Okay, yeah. So to answer that question on should we stick to market structure or that, to me, not that important, because as I mentioned, the principle for me to do news trading is to capture that surprise element and that volatility. Okay, so we throw away the conventional support resistance and things like that. Cool. Okay, but it's short term, right? As I mentioned, when the news release, the move done. Okay, so yeah, I hope I also answered this part of what points do I keep in mind while trading news. Okay, so those are the principles, the framework that guides me. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Okay, and of course, for the person who asked, I hope that's clear, and for the rest of you who are joining in this session, hope you also get something out of it. Okay,